So yeah, I'm just going to give you a bit of a presentation, both from an agronomy/farmer perspective, as well as being chair of the NSS Farmer Group and what we're trying to achieve there for the members and the farmers on Northern Yorke Peninsula. I think Gurjit's talked about brome grass, but on Northern Yorke we get two main types, the Deandrus and also rigidus. Really, like you're looking at greater than 250mm rainfall, sandy loam soils, and like Gurjit said, a cold requirement below 15 degrees in July. The rigidus, yeah, hence its name it implies, is quite an upstanding brome grass and is quite purple in colour. Whereas the Deandrus is more prostate and quite silver once it comes out in the head. The main battle that we're finding, and the main trend I've seen probably in the last 3 to 5 years on Northern Yorke Peninsula, has been the brome starting to inhabit like the clay loams and the clay soils as well. So not only the fringe sandy areas and the low rainfall areas, as well as the northern sandy areas, but getting into the clay loams and clays from Pasquille through to Arthurton. And with that, yeah, far more chemical usage, and particularly in the Alfred-Broughton area, we're now looking at FOPs, DIMs, Treflin, and last year down at Maitland on the Central Yorke Peninsula, the first worldwide case of glyphosate resistance was discovered in Brome. So hence quite a few problems in dealing with this particular weed, and a heavy reliance on the Group B chemicals like the sulfonylamide Crusader, sulfonylureas Atlantis and Monza, and the IMIs, of course, in the Clearfield's production systems. Just to put it in perspective, the top photo here, 500ml of Targa in with a litre of Select, and about 60 or 70% of the brome has got through that. Where we doubled up to a litre of Targa and 2 litres of Selects, we actually achieved control. So you can see how much once those, I'll call them cheap, but also selective options, once they're starting to not work, we're really in some strife. So with the NSS work, I'd like to acknowledge the Northern Yorke NRM board who provided funding for our trial. We looked at pre-emergent control as well as a couple of post-emergents sown into scope barley as well as wheat, but I'll just touch on the brome grass trial here, in particular looking at probably the 3 main pre-emergents, and yeah, Sakura was the outstanding one early on. It gave about 80% reduction in numbers, but when the panicle counts were done later on, it was more a suppression type that we achieved. But in terms of yield, 21% greater yield, so even a pre-emergent that gives you some suppression early does relate to yield, because brome grass is so competitive. The best 2 were Treflin followed by Intervix. So I don't think the registration's out yet, but we put Intervix over the scope barley, being tolerant to that, and yeah, took out, well, as you can see with the panicle counts, there was none remaining. It gave us the highest yield by a long way, roughly 60% extra yield. So that once again, it just emphasises how competitive brome is. And the second best was a post-emergent application of metribuzin in terms of the yield and control. But even then, there was still 30-odd plants remaining. So definitely more suppression there with the post-end metribuzin. Yeah, the photographs depict that, untreated on the far left, metribuzin in the middle where there's still a few plants in amongst it, and where we put the Intervix, squeaky clean, you can see right up the rows. We also performed a demonstration as well, and we took the emphasis really away from selective chemicals and said, right, if we've got brome grass problems, can we do anything pre-harvest as well as in the autumn leading into the following year? So a paddock came up where yeah, a farmer who had tried several different things were able to compare the populations of brome across those 7 things. Keep in mind it wasn't replicated, it was just demonstration purposes. So we had just 1 single disc here first. Treatments 2 and 3 were chemical fallowed. Number 2 had a disc and number 3 didn't. Untreated here. Number 5 is the chaff car heap, so it's not where the chaff car actually went, it was just a heap, and then we burnt it, trying to see how much brome will survive that. Disc twice, and then we burnt a section of the paddock as well. So it's not often that you have a demonstration where there's actually treatment that's far higher than the untreated, but brome really does respond to that cultivation or disking, and it does also have a requirement to be in the shade, and hence the other trend of the past 10 years has been with no-till. The first pass in the paddock is that seeding pass, and once the brome is in the dark, when it's covered with soil, it comes up with the crop as well. Just a few photos again. Here was the untreated. You can see here how many brome have come up where the disking happened twice. Burning down here, and just the chemical fallow with the disking. So we still stimulated some to come up, but the chemical fallow gave us 80 to 90% reduction in brome grass numbers leading into the following season. So I always use the analogy or the old saying, short-term pain, long-term gain, because you're wiping out your crop in the year prior, but you're setting yourself up for a cleaner crop the following year. So from an agronomy perspective, what am I doing with clients in that area to help them manage their brome? We're looking at narrow windrows and then burning, and the top left there is a good indication of how you can get a nice hot burn right in the middle of the row. But where you don't get it hot enough on the outsides, you don't cook those weed seeds, and hence they're still viable for the following year. Re-sowing, it's been out there for a long time, but when you've got a paddock, in this case barley, which turns a tinge of purple in late June, early July, you really have to do something about it. Not many options in barley, so we nuked it and went again. Demonstrating what we did in the trial with the early tickle versus untouched. So you can see it really does have a stimulus requirement. Competitive crops, we had axe wheat on the right, frame wheat on the left. So frame is quite a high tillering wheat variety, and axe is very poor at tillering, and therefore competition. So just a selection of a variety or a different type of crop that is more vigorous and competitive can really help. This is the contraption that we made to put on the back of the header, to actually put the stubble underneath and the chaff on top, so that when we went and burnt those rows, we were getting all that seed component, whereas sometimes with the chaff going in with the stubble, it just works its way down, it's on the ground and you can't get a hot enough cure. Just a point of interest, I work off about 60% capture, like with brome with the chaff cart, because it has a unique ability to either dodge the header comb going over it, or it's already shattered and it's on the ground or bent over. So only about 60% is what I work off of. So like I was saying, this is how the little patches start. Just a couple of metres in diameter, getting through those Group A chemicals. Here's where we've burnt, and I said before to the last group they look like little silver bullets, but fortunately they were all cooked and no good. And this is the trial that we've set up starting October last year with the NSS Farmer Group. NRM funded again, and it's looking at, you can see the chemical fallow treatment here in the foreground and the background, but we're replicating all those things, narrow windrows, chaff carts. We're going to do a hot burn in some strips, and I think there's 6 or 7 treatments, but the chemical fallow's already gone out there in the barley paddock. So I think I'll leave it there, Bill.
Excellent. Well done, Chris.
What about cutting hay? How does that work out with your timing on brome?
Really well, actually, Roger. Like obviously Northern Yorke has got access to 3 main hay plants, and that is another strategy that has been taken up. Probably not as big up in the Port Broughton area, but taking it out when really the brome's only just starting to run up at that time. So it's very, very efficient at taking out the brome as well as ryegrass.
Chris, your trials looking at ventricules, and I think it was early post-emergent, is that right?
That's right.
200 grams over press-field furrows is obviously fairly dodgy. Do you tend to try and split the application, or do you try and fill in the press-field furrows to minimise that risk?
Good question, Tony. Like last year in particular was probably the worst brome that I've ever seen. And I classed it worse than ryegrass as the grassy weed. So a lot of barley had 150 grams up front, and we even had to come back with 200 grams at the 4 or 5 leaf stage after that. A lot of the farmers in that area are well aware of what possibly might go wrong with bleaching and lack of vigour and things, but they're willing to take it on just to get a bit of suppression on the brome. But yeah, last year it was quite a good winter for that, and yeah, the crops recovered, no problems, but unfortunately some of the brome did as well. So,
have you got some rules of thumb about, I guess, making it as safe as you can?
Really, metribuzin moisture activated, although in that sense you're trying to target 3-leaf, 2-leaf brome if you can, so it's foliar uptake. But I do think that the crop responds better if there's 5 or 10 mils of rain, probably within a week. So, like using metribuzin on legumes and things, those same rules apply.